HorridFroth here, hello. So I hate to start videos with an apology, but to start with an apology, I think at the beginning of my last postcard from China, I actually started by saying in Chinese, "Froth there, hello." So hands up to looking a dick in front of my subscribers. I think it's "Pao Mo Zheli Ni Hao," but I'm going back to a standard greeting anyway. So postcard number 2. Hello again from Kunming. I just thought I'd put some more thoughts out of there based on what's happened on the last week. So I wanted to start with a little bit of pathos because I was sat here at my computer catching up on a few email and eating the crunchiest substance known to man, which is a packet of these things. I've kept them for posterity. Crunch, 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 pop. And I lost half of the enamel on one of my rear molars. Now, when you kind of play with these things with your tongue, they obviously feel like gigantic cavernous fissures. And I thought, well, okay, this is not really a great location nor time to be playing the dentists, but I figured I had to go. So one of the people who's organised the course took me to. I was going to take me to the international hospital, but wound up taking me to one of the big hospitals in Kunming, and I was a bit nervous because I wasn't sure anybody would actually speak English, and it's hard enough conversing as it is without using words like nerve, enamel, neuron, pain, operation, crown. So we went into this hospital, which was busy as hell and not particularly clean or welcoming. Got a ticket and went upstairs, and talk about production line dentistry. 3 dentists in a room with people in the chairs, with the families coming in and peering into the mouths and surveying the work. All very clean and hygienic, but a very public affair. So I sat down, and this dentist said in perfect English, "Welcome," and took a look inside and said, "Yeah, you're going to need a crown, but it should hold until you get home. So hopefully." If I chew on one side of my mouth and avoid these atomically crunchy bastard snacks, then I should be okay. So onwards and upwards. Last weekend, I took a trip to the zoo, to Kunming Zoo. I think I mentioned I was going to try and check out some of the indigenous species, particularly the pandas. Now, I always visit zoos in the vague hope that they're going to be humane affairs and that the animals are going to be. Well, as well cared for as they possibly can, given that they're taken out of the natural habitat. I mean, zoos are a paradox for me because you've got to balance the value of, for example, young kids seeing these things, me seeing these things too, but also the profound stress it places on the animal. And I'm sad to say that Kunming Zoo wasn't particularly humane in that sense. Small cages, distressed-looking animals. So I'm afraid I couldn't bring myself to get any pictures of the pandas, but I was able to get some pictures of other pandas, so they'll be at the end. Then we went on to the cultural centre, which was an incredibly interesting place. Think a very, very downplayed theme park spread over several hundred acres with little dotted localized exhibits. So in China, the biggest ethnic population is called the Han, and these form well over 90% of the population at large. However, there are several other minority groups who have their own unique customs and quirks and traditions, and so each of these is represented in these little exhibits that were dotted around the park. And I mean, it's some incredible things. Got some great photos again at the end, so hopefully they'll be of interest. But what I wanted to major on with this video was some of the quirks of Mandarin, of the Chinese language, if you're interested, because I always thought of myself as a moderately intelligent chap, and I may have to concede that I have very little aptitude for languages. I'm stuck in a class with a gang of guys who've been studying for longer than me, and I'm trying desperately to keep up and catch up. But for me, interpretation of foreign languages, and some of my subscribers who I know are polyglots, could hopefully help here. But for me, it's a 7 or 8 stage process. So the spoken word comes in, it's broken into the spoken sentence comes in, it's broken into its component word, its component words are translated, sense is made, a response is formulated in English, subvocally, translated into the destination language, constructed into a sentence, and then spoken. Now, this process takes 10 or 15 seconds, which makes me look a little bit like a dribbling dullard. So I'm keen if anyone's got any tips or hints about the way that the process of language assimilation and being able to talk quickly in real time happens. please please comment, because I'm starting to feel just a little bit demoralised. I mean, it's still great fun and still very interesting, but I may have to accede to the fact that Froth ain't a linguist. Maybe the title of a future video, who knows. But Mandarin Chinese, tremendously interesting language. It's a tonal language, which means that if you pronounce the same syllable in 4 slightly different ways, it has 4 completely distinct meanings. For example, the syllable ma is very, very common in Chinese, and it can be pronounced in fact 5 different ways really, but the principal ways are with a high tone, ma, with a rising tone, ma, with a falling rising tone, ma, and with a falling tone, ma, 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 ma. And these mean everything from mother to horse to scold to particles that you put on the end of a sentence to indicate a question. Now, if you guys couldn't pick out the differences there, don't worry, because it's very, very difficult for the Western ear to do. And I mean, you guys know I'm a bit of a musician myself, and I always figured that a tonal language wouldn't be a problem. But when you listen to a language in flight and the way these people speak it in the real world, it becomes tremendously difficult to keep up to it, to dissect the tones and to make sense of them in a sentence. So those are the challenges that I'm facing in learning Mandarin. As I say, still tremendously stimulating, very interesting, but wow, though. And the last thing I wanted to leave you guys with was just a quick thought about idiomatics, or the idiomatics of Chinese language. And there is one particular phrase that really, really tickled me, which is ma ma hu hu. And this phrase literally translates into horse horse, tiger tiger. And it's very, very commonly used, but it in fact means so-so. So if you say ni hao ma, which means how you doing, if you say ma ma hu hu, it means so-so. Now, I first thought that this was because in an agrarian culture, horses were good and tigers were generally bad. But that's not the case at all. This hails back to several hundred years ago, when a particularly famous artist had a very, very off day and was trying to draw himself a tiger, and it wound up looking like a horse. And so the painting was called, I believe, Ma Ma Hu Hu, and the phrase then entered common language. So just a little bit of trivia about Mandarin. So I hope this was of interest. As always, rate and comment, and more to follow. Froth again, hello. So just a quick word about the outro music for this video. If it seems like not the normal choice or a little bit out of character for the theme of this video, then my apologies. I was listening to this on my way to a local gym that I found here, and for some reason it really, really got to my very core and moved me. And suddenly my trip here felt very important and very real. One of those, if you like, moments, lucid moments, if you like. So it's by The Magnificent Unearth, but if any of you guys don't like serious metal, then mute the sound for the photos, and I'll go back to a more orthodox choice of music next video.